Chapter 5, 166. Water Pavilion, Resolving the Mystery. Translator. Chibi General Editor, Chibi General. By this point, Feng Yuan was overwhelmed with awe. This mysterious Gu immortal, who created Dichi Shu inheritance, was definitely a grandmaster in terms of refinement attainment. The entire process was using 88 true Yang buildings' heavenly power. It was innovative and daring. Although Feng Yuan was the executor, his role was really that of an assistant. Refining Gu was hard. Refining an immortal Gu was even harder. It was harder than ascending to heaven. For a comparable example, a rock has been pushed onto the peak of a cliff by a mysterious Gu immortal. Feng Yuan is only giving it a final push, easily sending this rock flying towards the ground and crashing. That would be success. Swish, swish, swish. The cave had already formed into a black water spiral. The spiral continued to spin, letting out a weird noise. Soon after, the tower's tip appeared, followed by its body and base. From within the spiral, a brand new small tower appeared with seemingly countless goo worms inside. Incredible! With the appearance of this tower, the final loophole is gone. Even if someone comes here due to the commotion, they would not find anything. Feng Yuan praised as he sighed. But, although the tower was formed, why has the immortal Gu not appeared yet? Feng Yuan's gaze focused. He found that in the small tower, there was a strong light that flickered. There was a weak feeling of connection with it in his heart. He instantly understood that this was the early stage of the immortal Gu. He was about to use this connection to lure the immortal Gu out, when suddenly this strong light escaped like an intangible shadow towards the southeast direction. What happened? Feng Yuan was shocked in his heart. By now, the 4 steps of light in the soil shine up to 100,000 feet high, swimming in the sky for 100 li. Praising plum fragrant snow had been completed. Feng Yuan did not know what was going on with this sudden change. He Lulan opened up the 88 True Yang building. After it formed once more, it was truly a huge move. According to logic, I should be heading to the building to challenge it. That is what a normal person would do. The early stage immortal Gu had flown to a faraway place, as Feng Yuan looked at the sacred palace hesitantly. Although he was outside, he had already made preparations. Be it Chang tribe or Gi tribe, they were sending him real-time information. The longer Feng Yuan was away from the sacred palace, the more suspicion he would attract. If they were stuck at a stage and needed the Wolf King's power, some people might come to find him, and it took time for information to be transmitted. Feng Yuan had no idea that his enemy Chang Biao helped him indirectly. At this moment, Tang Miaoming took great risks and was able to successfully pass the round, causing a huge wave of cheering inside the building. The immortal Gu was still the most important matter. Feng Yuan only hesitated for a moment before making up his mind, spreading his wings and chasing after the strong light. This strong light was like a cocoon. It traveled along the ground at an absurd speed. Because of the trees and bushes shielding it from sight, no one took notice of it. Feng Yuan chased it in the air, trying to hide his traces as he abandoned the wolves behind, traveling stealthily. As time passed, the strong light became dimmer, but its speed rose. Although he was rank 5 peak stage, his speed was not at the peak of the mortal realm. It was very tough chasing the Gu, but he did not lose sight of it. In the end, it was because this early stage immortal Gu was not created solely by Feng Yuan. Different from when he refined divine travel Gu, Feng Yuan was only an assistant this time. It was all due to the backflow of 88 True Yang buildings' heavenly power. He was immortal. It was already a huge achievement from much effort to be able to gain a connection to the immortal Gu. The strong light entered a valley and flew into a waterfall, vanishing. But using the connection, Feng Yuan could sense that the early stage immortal Gu was still. Feng Yuan penetrated the waterfall, but collided on the smooth and wet mountain rock. At once, rocks crumbled, as water splashed all over the place. Weird! Feng Yuan was confused. The connection in his heart told him that the strong light was inside this water, but he diverted the water flow and even destroyed this waterfall, and yet he could not find a trace of this immortal Gu. Was my effort in vain? No, there is a huge trick here. He flew up and observed the terrain. This small waterfall had already become a pool. It was extremely ordinary. The valley was nameless. It was not a unique location. Fang Yuan placed his sights on this pool. The connection in his heart told him that the early stage immortal goo was inside, but even if he went through the waterfall or controlled the water flow, he could not find it. At this time, the Goo Master's investigative goo worms would be tested. Fang Yuan was obviously unresigned. He tried many investigative methods. Although he did not excel in investigation, he controlled Who Immortal Blessed Land and had access to Treasure Yellow Heaven. He did not lack rank 5 mortal go. Only when he tried the 57th method, after a considerable expense in immortal essence stones, did he have a discovery. Only to see that in the pool, there was the silhouette of a pavilion. It looked like the reflection of the moon in the water. He entered the water, but did not enter the pavilion. After trying for several times without success, Fang Yuan gasped. He finally recognized this pavilion after a flash of inspiration struck him. Is this the long-lost Immortal Goo House Water Pavilion? Immortal Goo were unique, so were Immortal Goo Houses. This water pavilion was inferior to 88 True Yang Building. It was only ranked 7. But it had a great reputation. It was the signature method of the Goo Immortal Shuini. Shuini was a rank 8 Goo Immortal, the legend that created the water path. She was also the creator of one of the top 10 sects in Central Continent, Spirit Affinity House. In contrast to the grandness of 88 True Yang Building, Water Pavilion could hide itself in the water, becoming like an illusion. It was very mystical. It could move with currents or hide inside mist and fog, flying in the sky. It could even hide in a corner of an iceberg, becoming undetectable. Without the token to enter the pavilion, Water Pavilion could even repel rank 8 Goo Immortals. But right now this pavilion was ownerless. Its doors were open. Fang Yuan was kept in the dark earlier, but now that he found out the truth, he had the method to enter. To enter Water Pavilion, I have to become water. There is a killer move called Water Spirit Transformation. Together with a few goo, I can turn into a water spirit, my battle strength would surge and I would have terrain advantage. Fang Yuan searched through his memories and found a method. But in the end, Who Immortal Land Spirit bought a rank 5 current charge goo for him in Treasure Yellow Heaven. This goo could allow a Goo Master to turn into a water current temporarily in charge for a distance. But it was already outdated in the goo world. That was because when the Goo Master transforms into a current, he might suffer heavy injuries or even die when hit by a fire path. Goo Worm. But Fang Yuan was not using this goo to battle. It was to enter Water Pavilion. It was more convenient than using the killer move to transform into a water spirit. With a swoosh, Fang Yuan turned into a current and rushed towards Water Pavilion. The pavilion was neither big nor small. It had 3 layers. It had a rustic flair to it, as the materials used were very ancient, having furniture and drawings. Once Fang Yuan entered, he kept the current charge goo and went to the 3rd floor, pushing open a door to find the early stage immortal goo. Only to see that this early stage immortal goo was like a thumb-sized cocoon. It was inside a large red bowl at the moment. This bowl was larger than a water tank. The edges were uneven, looking like a shark's teeth. Inside there was some blue liquid that was oozing with coldness. So that's it, Fang Yuan realized at once. Although the 4 steps allowed the refinement of the early stage of the immortal goo, the goo was still not complete. It needed to further nurture and grow. The mysterious Goo Immortal placed the Water Pavilion here in order to give the early stage immortal goo a good place to nurture itself. There were some words on the large red bowl. Fang Yuan looked at them, and even with his knowledge, he could only decipher a portion of them. These are Inkman characters. Legend says that the splashes of literature water on Book Mountain and Shankun Crystal Wall created the first written characters in this world. These characters had been lost long ago. Even Inkmen barely knew them after being chased out of Book Mountain. The Goo Immortals in Treasure Yellow Heaven must have some research materials regarding the Inkman language. After all, many Goo Immortals are interested in Book Mountain. They have been searching for the gray-white stone slab in order to recreate Qiankun crystal wall. Fang Yuan had a thought and immediately contacted Little Hu Immortal. The value of Hu Immortal blessed land was displayed again. It allowed a mortal like Fang Yuan to use the precious resource of mobilizing Gu Immortals. The price was hefty, but after exchanging for some information regarding Inkman language, Fang Yuan deciphered the words on this bowl on the spot. The result made Fang Yuan become shocked and excited. So this inheritance was created by Mo Yao. This Mo Yao was a brilliant person, the 36th generation fairy of Spirit Affinity House. She had a special identity. She was an Inkman. But eventually, she broke the limits of her race and became a rank 7 Gu Immortal. She made tremendous contributions to the righteous path and used her love to reform a huge demonic character 10,000 years ago, sword demon Bo Qing. Bo Qing was a lone cultivator. He had a lowly start, but his talent was superb. He created sword path Gu worms single-handedly and roamed the 5 regions without any obstruction or anyone that could match him. He was among the most brilliant rank 8 peak stage experts in history. He had great battle strength that shook the heavens. His sword path Gu worms were innovative and special. They had great strength. He was known as the pseudo-immortal venerable, who split the 5 regions with his sword. It was fortunate for the people in the world that love changed him. It meant that this person had great battle strength, only inferior to the immortal and demon venerables of each era. Thankfully, because of love, he changed from demonic to righteous. It was truly a fortunate thing for all life in this world. Back then, Bo Qing was even a hot favorite for the person to advance to rank 9. But eventually, he failed when trying to get to rank 9 and turned into ashes. As his wife, Mo Yao resisted with her life and eventually died with him. In history, Mo Yao was a true refinement grandmaster. No wonder. Back then, when Giant Sun Immortal Venerable recruited concubines, the 10 central continent sects provided beautiful female Gu masters. Among them, Spirit Affinity House sent numerous female Gu Immortals into the palaces as an offering to the Immortal Venerable. Between the concubines that gained Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's favor, a few were from Spirit Affinity House. As an insider, it was no wonder that her understanding of the Sacred Palace, an 88 true Yang building, greatly surpassed ordinary people. Mo Yao was the 36th generation fairy of Spirit Affinity House. She was naturally nurtured fully by Spirit Affinity House. It was easy for her to investigate the hidden secrets about 88 true Yang building. The origin of the water pavilion here could be explained as such. In the Inkman words, this immortal Gu's information was written. Calamity beckoning Gu.